Why do you set me up like that? Good morning to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and the Diaspora. Welcome to Island Tea. And good morning to Miss Keita Mills. I met her in Best Buy last night as and Mishi. She made mention that she's one of our biggest fans and she listens to us all the time. Her brother even mentions that she stopped what she's doing to listen to us.
Wonderful news.
Yeah,
Wonderful news.
So Miss Keita Mills, good morning. Thank you for listening. And for all those other listeners, good morning. It's always a pleasure to come to you every morning, well, Monday to Friday, bringing you Island Tea. And this morning, for tea, we have orange and spice tea. Azard, how are you doing? Jamster?
I am wonderful. You know, he always has his coffee over there.
He comes prepared.
You said, so I did cinnamon, and with the tea, it says here that, you know, the message attached to the tea bag, it says, from a small seed, a mighty trunk may grow.
We all know that.
From a small seed.
From a very small seed,
a mighty trunk may grow. So that is a little bit of inspiration. So you said, what we have this morning, what did you make?
Orange and spice. It's from Bigler. So I just pour on the hot water. So I didn't make the whole thing. I have to give credit where credit is due.
Yes.
Indeed.
So many things have been happening. We have, again, this morning at 9 o'clock, we have our good doctor.
Yes.
Dr. Natalie Osborne, and she's going to be here on the program like she is most of the Tuesdays, save an exception when she has, you know, take that 1 hour to break. She's here every Tuesday. And so do you want to give the audience, Kortensia, the topic that we'll be discussing with Dr. Natalie at 9 a.m.?
Yes, folks, we will be discussing with the good doctor the area of rectal bleeding. So you're going to want to tune in just in case if you've been experiencing that. You may want to tune in to understand the various things and definitions that she will say, and then you can always check your doctor.
Yes.
Once she would have been done, or even check Dr. Osborne.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The good doctor.
The good doctor herself.
Yes. So I was reading an article yesterday, and it was indicating, you know, and I shared it in the chat. It indicated that, you know, when a loss of smell as you age may be an indication, an early indication of dementia, that studies have shown that might be a sign towards dementia. So persons out there, I had my phone, but I don't have my phone on me now. But the article was in there.
You forgot your phone too?
No. I think it's somewhere in my bag or something.
Okay.
Yes. So I had the article with me, but basically when I read it and I shared it, perhaps you want to just highlight a few things, not the whole article, just highlight a few things if you have it.
I can do that.
Yes.
So scientists continue to make leaps and bounds to establish the early signs of dementia. It is expected by 2050 that 153 million persons may have dementia, and that is very sad to hear. So they say while the loss of smell is better known as one of the telltale signs of COVID, it is also an early warning sign of dementia and Alzheimer's disease, according to the key. So the portal states, and quote, if your loved one has trouble smelling things such as food that went bad in the fridge or the fact that they have body odor from not bathing, don't assume it may be because they have COVID-19. Says new research from the National Institute of Aging that followed 364 participants over an average period of 2.5 years found that lower olfactory tests were associated with higher chance of developing mild cognitive impairment associated with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. It also says initial research from 2016 published in the journal Annals of Neurology found that those who had trouble identifying scents like menthol, strawberry, and lemon seem to be at greater risk of Alzheimer's disease.
Wow.
So should I smell menthol, strawberry, and lemon every day just to ensure that my smell is there? Because these things creep up on you when you're not even paying attention.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know yesterday we discussed the the champions for the LIDC competition. But I'm here seeing an article by WINNFM, and it states, and it gives some more information. It says the proposition was represented by Team St. Kitts, while Team Nevis was the opposition. It says at the end of the debate, the judges decided that Team Nevis's arguments were more convincing in the debate moot, and the moot was this: the feminist movement has been focused on attacking men rather than promoting the equality of women. So the final moot that evening was the feminist movement has been focused on attacking men rather than promoting equality of women. And Nevis amassed a total of 645 points, and St. Kitts garnered a total of 561. So in the final debate, Team Nevis was represented by lead speaker Michaela Maynard, and seconder Jaren Webb of Nevis Sixth Form. So the proposition leader was Josiah Green, while the seconder was Michaela Richardson of the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College. The best speaker for the fifth and final debate of the competition was Miss Maynard, who was the lead speaker for Nevis. And then they had the overall best speaker, and from my recollection, the overall best speaker went to a young lady from Anguilla.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw something last night on the social media sites where Pastor Connor was speaking about St. Kitts and Nevis, but then he was speaking about them being against each other.
Yes.
And then, I don't know if it's a young lady from, I want to think she's from Nevis. She ended with a scripture that spoke to everything that was said.
Yes.
The scripture was quite powerful.
At the time, when I listened to the debate, I was like, what was the relevance of this? Because it was being said, and of course it had nothing to do with the actual arguments, of a rebuttal.
Understood.
But then afterwards, I then said, oh, there was something said in the morning. I said, okay. Yes.
She came prepared to fight Jesus with Jesus.
Yes.
But it was nice though. I like the little back and forth.
Yes.
Yeah, once it was nothing bad was said from either parties. She just proved her point.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Congratulations and kudos to all involved in the debate for Nevis. And as Azard would have mentioned yesterday, it is a win for the Federation because we are St. Kitts and Nevis.
And then I saw, because of the debate on a popular Facebook page, a blogger, saying that, when competitions are happening like this, St. Kitts versus Nevis, that Nevis should not carry the national flag, but there's a flag that has that Nevis, someone showed a picture of it being flown by the pier. I don't want to get in any trouble. It's the flag, it's the yellow, there's a triangle on it, and the national flag on the upper left hand corner. So the person was indicating that when competitions like that arise, where you have St. Kitts versus Nevis, and quote unquote, the Nevis flag is used. So
we're a federation.
Yes.
There's no Nevis flag. There's no St. Kitts flag. There's one flag, and we're going to fly one flag, regardless if we are each other's opponent when the time permits.
Yes, I do agree with one flag. We're one federation.
Yeah.
Yes, one federation. Yes.
I also saw in the news that the Honorable Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown, is very optimistic that Liat is going to be flying in the next 60 days. Well, it might be 59 by the time I am repeating this. So
Yes.
He's very optimistic about the $90 million investment that his government and the privatized Air Peace airline will do. They're supposed to be, will have. There's supposed to be 3, let me make sure I get the article correct. There's supposed to be 3 Embraer aircraft that should be delivered to Antigua soon. And then I guess they're going to, the article also said that they're going to allow Antigua to purchase the 3 ATRs. And Mr. Gaston is committed to ensuring that intra-regional travel returns because he sees the need for it. So he's pushing to ensure that in the next 59 or 60 days, if they're still that long, that Liat 2020 takes to the skies.
Yeah, we read we would have read an article earlier in relation to that as well, indicating his favor for the Liat 2020 being able to be successful, where the former Liat was not. So we see also that in the local news, you see the Antioch Baptist Church is celebrating 61 years and remembers
Congrats.
pioneer Reverend Dr. William Connor. So we say congratulations to the Antioch Baptist Church as it celebrates its 61st year.
Yes, congratulations. And to our good teacher, now Pastor Connor, keep the fire burning, keep pushing forward by the grace of God, and may we all, including your members, continue to pray and lift you up, that you have the strength that you need to do the work that God has bestowed upon you whilst you are in the land of the living.
Yes.
And in the sporting world, I know Jamsa is a sporting fan. I see Devon Charlton of Bahamas breaks her own 60-meter hurdles record. And then we have Dominica, the young lady that's representing Dominica. She won the triple jump. Yes, Miss Fond. She won the triple jump. So the Caribbean is doing big things at that indoor game, Jamsa. Did you wish you were there? Why, too cold? Yeah. Okay. Well, you could have packed up, just to go to support the Caribbean. We have to go out and support our Caribbean people.
Yes, and when you spoke about Gaston Brown and Antigua and Liat, in fact, I was looking for the article. Not having your phone is very difficult when you have to be searching for articles and stuff like that.
I read it yesterday.
I have to be trying to maneuver on my iPad.
So where is this infamous phone? You're following me now?
No, I think it's somewhere in my bag, but we are live. I can't go and look for it now.
You don't want anybody saw you on. See you on Channel 40. Hear me saw you. See you on Channel 40 digging through your bag.
Digging through my bag, looking for the phone. And so some persons might see us on our phones, and sometimes it's because we're checking so many things at the same time, folks, and trying to look for so many articles and making sure that we are current and also accurate with the information that we try to give. And so here, I remember when you talked about Antigua and Barbuda and Liat, my mind came to an article that I read about Gaston Brown and Antigua and Barbuda in relation to the free movement of nationals. And I see this article here. It says CARICOM nationals set for free regional movement by March 31st. And so it says CARICOM nationals, including those from Antigua and Barbuda, look to enjoy unrestricted travel throughout member states by the end of the month. The announcement was made by Prime Minister Mayor Motley during a news conference bringing this week's 4-day CARICOM summit in Guyana to an end. So we know that they had the summit in Guyana just recently.
Yes.
And it says here that Motley said leaders have made the decision that they were on track to achieve defeat by March 31st. So what they are trying to achieve is that they want to set CARICOM nationals, they're supposed to be set for free regional movement.
But I saw a next country that says, I want to think it's Bermuda, that says CARICOM doesn't mean free movement. So I'm like, what?
So this is what this article goes on to say. So it says that currently CARICOM nationals are free to stay in participating nations up to 6 months. So we know when you come to the airport, you have your CARICOM passport. You are given, unless you're seen as a burden on the state, unless you're seen, undesirable, whatever the definition of that would be, and determined by, you have the 6 months. And here it has Prime Minister Motley emphasize the leader's goal to remove the 6-month constraint. So it seems that the Prime Minister of Barbados emphasized that leader's goal is to remove the 6-month constraint. And so efforts are also on the way to address the issue of company formation with plans to achieve mutual recognition of companies across the community by July. You know, it also says a digital platform will be set up, allowing individuals to register companies seamlessly across CARICOM nations. CARICOM chairman, Guyana's president, Dr. Ali, last week underscored leaders' commitment to implementing the CARICOM single market and economy. At present, when a CARICOM national wishes to establish a company in another member state upon relocation, they are obligated to make a payment. This, PM Motley noted, is an unnecessary burden. And she says, and goes on to say, and I quote, "We agreed that we would work to get the mutual recognition of companies across the community settled, and we are working towards trying to have that done by our meeting in July in Grenada," end of quote. She also says, quote here, "To allow people the right to move and then tell them that they have to pay separate sums to form a company, the same company, doing the same business in each and every other of the countries going in, is a burden too heavy for you to carry in a single market and single economy," end of quote, by Premier Motley.
Yep.
Yes.
Wow.
And, you know, this is interesting because the postgraduates, the debate that was on Friday, one of the moods was actually whether or not CSME as it is, I think CSME as it is, or whether CSME is the engine for regional development in the Caribbean. Something to that extent was debated, and reference were made as it relates to CARICOM, the CSME, and you hear the debaters speaking about difficulties to set up business across the Caribbean. So you're in St. Kitts and you want to set up business in Jamaica, another CARICOM territory, and having to pay additional funds for that, even though you might have paid, you would have paid all the funds needed to set up that business in St. Kitts. So that is what she's underscoring here, that,
So you shouldn't pay it to set up in Jamaica, but Jamaica will benefit because you will eventually have to pay.
No, what they're saying is that if you have a company that is established in St. Kitts and you have to pay fees for that company, and you have to, yearly you have annual fees that you will pay. So they're saying that what she's doing is to remove that. So, and I don't want to misquote her. She says, so here it says, "At present, when a CARICOM national wishes to establish a company in another member state upon relocation, they are obligated to make a payment." She says here again, "To allow people the right to move and then tell them that they have to pay separate sums to form a company, the same company, doing the same business in each and every of the territories going in, is a burden too heavy to carry in a single market and economy." So she wants to create an ease of doing business across the Caribbean within the community.
Okay, so I understand what she's trying to do. I think that's why she's going to continue to be voted back into government, and everybody across the Caribbean is going to keep saying that she's the best prime minister in our region. And as I was saying with the Bermuda stuff, the Premier David Burt, he's basically saying that Bermuda, the British Overseas Territory, which is seeking full membership of the Regional Integration Movement, CARICOM, says it is, however, not contemplating being part of the region's attempt to allow for free movement of nationals across member states. I don't understand this.
But you see, that's interesting too, because this is the article initially I was looking for as well, because we're talking about CARICOM, we're talking about free movement, and here it says, and from the article, and it's from Antigua Newsroom, right?
Okay.
Something similar to that, because you're saying that Bermuda says
full CARICOM membership doesn't guarantee free movement.
Okay, so
they
that's
want.
Okay, we
caller,
have a
go
caller.
ahead. You're live on Island T. Good morning. Hello, caller.
Yes, good morning, Island T.
Good
Hey,
morning,
good morning.
Jamdang. How are you?
Good morning,
This is Jam
Jamdong.
down here.
Yes, welcome, Jamdong.
I is one. Don't believe that CARICOM should go in that way. What the Russians? What monthly Jamaica and Guyana and Barbados trying to rush these things on these small islands. These economy is not doing the way we want them to do as yet. Tourism is dead in the water. They can't see. I hope this moment one here, holy ground, you know. I just hope so. Because war be unto these countries. That fellow is sitting, that fellow is lying down up there by the Governor General place. He must be one to know what's wrong with these fellows. They don't understand where the CARICOM going. CARICOM, that is where they want. They don't flood these islands. All of us is one, but we're ready for that. You come for 6 months, go home, and come back. Look at the youngsters, them can't even get jobs in the country. Look what's going on.
But
I don't see.
But Jam,
Azard and the good lady there.
Yes.
Bam Bam going to talk. Big time in these islands. Have a good day. I will be back.
all right, Jam.
Thank you, Jamdong. Thank you for your contribution.
as
And you know,
always.
Jamdong, he called in at a time that I was going to put Antigua and Barbuda's position on this. So it says here, Antigua and Barbuda did not give its consent to the full free movement of all CARICOM nationals, as is being contemplated by other member states of CARICOM. We have a call.
Good morning.
Good
You're live
morning.
on Island T.
Good morning.
Hey, good
morning.
morning.
God, I think it's a Navy saying go away. Think it cannot take no more. They don't have free movement already. People don't load it up the place. What you gonna do? The ice is on St. Kitts, you know, warning people here, you know. Look at this side of Jamaica and Guyana, like a caller say. They're gonna flop this little island. We cannot take it no more, man. We have enough. The 6 months is enough. Let it go and come until something else work out. But no, man, you can't do that to St. Kitts. We got crime here. We can't even get it under control. Prostitute and all kind of thing going on in this place. We have got a lot of homeless people soon. I tell young dude from Africa up and down on the street. He begged me $1. I asked him, where you from? He said, Africa. Is these we want here? We can't afford it, man. Enough is enough. Come on. I hope Dr. Joe ain't go down the drain, because when they're doing these things, they need to come to the people and let us know if we could live with it. People balling out, they can't get a job, hospital ain't got this, school. You don't put us strain on the school and the health care. We don't have enough. We ain't big like Jamaica. We don't have enough of them here in Guyana. We ain't against nobody, but enough is enough. Okay? And that's all I got to say. I hope Prime Minister Joe ain't go down the road, my son. Please, I'm begging you. People can't take no more, man. Enough is enough. We love people, man, but you can't overload something. When you overload something, it's going to come down. If you overload St. Kitts, it's going to flop. Have a blessed day, okay?
Thank you so
ma'am.
much. Thank you for your opinion. It says here, this press statement is issued to clarify Antigua and Barbuda's position on the movement of all CARICOM nationals and to avoid any misinformation or ambiguity on the matter as stated by the Observer media and subsequently carried by other local news media. So it seems like what this article is saying, that there was some misinformation by other news sources on Antigua's position as relates to it. We have a caller?
Caller, go ahead. You're live on Island T. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, man. How you guys doing?
How are you
Thanks.
doing?
Yeah, on this CARICOM issue, right? Let me ask a question. Haiti's a part of the CARICOM setup, right?
Boy, they are.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then Haiti is the only one who doesn't seems like they're included in this free movement. You know, when I talk about including the Haitians or meet the win in some amount and put a cap on it sometime before, one of your favorite callers clap back. But in the meantime, St. Kitts and Nevis is already overrun by foreigners already. And the locals they're complaining, and they're well concerned about this matter. And the Prime Minister needs to come forward and speak up, bro. You see Antigua putting forward their position right away. The government in St. Kitts and Nevis need to come forward as well and stop being so reactive and be proactive and be in front of the issues. You know what I'm saying? And right now, man, the leaders went down to Guyana, but what did they really got out of that meeting? Because right now, Haiti is on fire, bro. Since they went down to Guyana with that 4-day meeting or whatever, Haiti, the situation on the ground in Haiti has deteriorated even more. The prisons them has been broken into. The gang members them, what they're trying to say, I saw a clip with the gang members them yesterday, and the gang members are trying to indicate that they are trying to represent the people. And the elephant in the room is the United States and those foreign denominations who is trying to come back into Haiti and recolonize again and dominate for whatever reasons. And nobody wants to address that issue. So the situation in Haiti is going to get worse, bro. The gang members are standing up. It's just like the coups that happened over in Africa. The gang members in Haiti, they are trying to remove that leader who wasn't democratically elected. So the gang members, they're not really what the people are trying to say about them.
Okay, you have
They're
about
trying to
10
represent the
seconds. We have another caller. Hello, good day, caller.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Hey, oh, you met me out.
Yes, I do. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
You getting me?
Yes, I could hear you.
Okay. From ever since creation, mankind been moving where opportunities seem to be where opportunities are. And less than what's happening in the Caribbean. Now, a lot of Guyanese came here legally and maybe illegally and so forth. But they're part of CARICOM. And if we all got together and sign these treaties, we're supposed to live by them. Now, one time I was in Jamaica and I went by a museum to a visit. And I realized something. I saw some artifacts on there that people from in Central Europe said to be the maker of them and so forth. So, in that backward there, when travel was so difficult, you see people been traveling all around. And, okay, the European Union was formed for many different reasons to save the soul, so to speak, well, figuratively. And Britain went in sometime after, but you know that after a while, Germany and France dominated the EEC.
Yes.
The EU, sorry. And
Okay.
then after a while, Britain, the people in British rise up and then they say, well, enough is enough. And they had a referendum and they withdrew. I think Britain was in a kind of funny spot here. I supported Britain.
So, caller, what are you saying in terms of the CARICOM, though? What, based on what
Hello?
has been, what are you saying in relation to the position by CARICOM? What are your views on that?
Things would happen and things would happen. And it's funny that Antigua is behaving the way because there was a time when Dominica had suffered from a hurricane and Antigua was spoiling up with the development. And they took in an enormous amount of Dominicans. And they even supplied the police force, the labor force in construction and all of that.
So you're in agreement for the restrictions to be, the present restrictions to be relaxed and for greater access?
Yeah, I believe so because look at it. Let's say Barbados or Trinidad might have they got good manufacturing base.
Yeah.
And transportation in the Caribbean is expensive. And the funny thing is that you don't get two-way travel with the ships that bring the goods.
Mm-hmm.
So if they want to, a particular company want to extend in another territory because it's the local market where they want to go, they're going to be supplying. And if they put up a production plant there to suit the market, nothing wrong with that because you're going to employ people from the locality and so forth. So there are many ways that we could benefit. But one of the things that would always be is that influx of people from the bigger territories where there seem to be turmoil, especially look at Haiti. And nobody really like to know people come to the country in droves and bring mayhem or whatever. But some of them ain't gonna bring mayhem. Some gonna come because they want a better way of living. Our people went to the U.S. Virgin Islands back in the 60s, or late 50s, early 60s, 70s. But there was a time they were thrown out, in the 70s, 71, 73. They shoveled out a lot of our people who were staying until the federal government of the U.S. had to step in and tell them they can't do that because they are the ones who build up the economy there. But you can always have these kind of things. That's why you have to find ways to address them. None of us going to live forever. And you hear some countries crying out about AIDS and labor force. In many ways, some of our disappointment or disadvantages we have might be supplemented by others coming in. But still, there should be a degree of control because you got to face the fact. The smaller islands, you're small. But Guyana might be a place for later. Because they find oil and oil can give you revenue. You're going to get rich and you're going to be able to set up things maybe to people will be attracted. Maybe the Guyanese will stop, go around the region. But people can travel in any case. But what it is just a habit of mankind to go where the grass is presumed to be greener.
Okay, Carl. So you have about 10 more seconds to wrap up. You have about 10 more seconds to wrap up.
I hope I make sense with what I said.
Plenty sense.
Yes, we love your opinion. We love the fact that you give your contribution. And
all right.
Yes.
Have a good day.
Yes.
Me too. I have something to add to this.
Yes.
The same article that I was reading, it says free movement of skills labor entails the right of a CARICOM national to seek work or engage in gainful employment in all CARICOM member states, with the exception of the Bahamas, Montserrat, and Haiti, without the need to obtain a work permit. It goes on to say that Grenada's Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell told a news conference at the end of the CARICOM summit that there are some countries that are not part of the CSME, and if you are not part of the CSME, free movement does not apply to you. I do not understand why we have all these organizations, yet there are so many complications. I'm not saying to go and overcrowd anybody's country, but if we're going to have these organizations in place that says we can do this and we can't do that, what is the sense of having them then? That's just my stance on it, because I know before in certain islands you had to have your CSME certificate, your skills certificate.
We have
Caller, go ahead. You're live on Island T. Good morning.
Yes, Azard.
Yes.
And my good friend here.
Hi, jam down.
This is a serious thing. This is suicide. This is like where we used to be getting, Where wrong with this young man who said a boy? If me, a dumb man, could see these things as a member from a member state, come on. Must lead them realize where the economy going. They're trying to jog out the little, out of these little islands that seems to be doing well. Tourism got in the water. We ain't got no key in the water. Well, Gaston Road ain't a joke, If you got 20, then you see the Gaston Road the line. Between the common man, something you get in power. Half of the youths come in the area so they can't see now. They're isolating themselves.
We have another call jammed down.
Let me get this one. In 2013,
Yes.
Azard, Denzel Douglas run with the swimming movements as one the caller said. They don't even come back to the country and say what's been happening in the CARICOM. They ain't saying nothing to us. They're just going and doing things. Missy Bam Bam going to talk here.
Okay, thank you so much, Jamdong. Yes. Okay, we have another call. Caller, you're live on Island T.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, I would have liked...
Be brief, Mr. Memahan, because we have to go on a break very soon.
You can always call back.
I'm just saying that I would have liked if they had approached this from a sub-regional point of view, in the sense that what they're proposing we already have in terms of the OECS, or pretty much close to it, okay? And so it would be nice if the OECS had gotten together and looked at this in terms of essentially population size as well as the stage of development. Because generally speaking, if you have a lot of disparity between the countries, it's unlikely to work, right? And if you have a huge difference in populations as well, that's likely to be an impediment as well. And so it should have been done. You see that we have the OECS, and it's working here. There's no mass exodus to anywhere in any island of the OECS from another island. Do it in stages as opposed to one full swoop. I think that is where the problem might start to arise. Okay? All right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Matt Mahan. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you,
We
as
welcome
always.
callers to call in and with their, give their opinions. We appreciate your opinions and we love your contributions to the program. We're going to take a short break and get back to you.
Found the sound 98.9 FM.
Get your bliss on. Get your bliss on. Get your bliss on. Cash Blitz.
Play Cash Blitz and get your blitz on. Cash Blitz is here, the newest scratch game from the Caribbean Lottery. With 4 tickets to choose from and the chance to win the big ticket top prize of $200,000. So get your blitz on today at Caribbean Lottery agents island-wide. Must be 21 and over.
Get your blitz on. Cash Blitz.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
And we're back and we're having the discussion. We're talking about CARICOM and we're talking about the move by CARICOM to expand the privileges and to allow for free movement of people by March 31st. So this is very near. We already here. It's March 5th?
Yeah.
Yes. So
No, it's not March. It's March 5th?
I think
Today's
March 5th.
Oh boy. I'm thinking it's Wednesday. I'm thinking it's the 6th. Oh boy.
Oh no.
I don't know the days of the week anymore.
We have a caller.
Caller, go ahead. You're live on Island T. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Miss
good
Henry.
morning,
How
Miss
are
Henry.
you?
Man, you're giving God thanks.
Yeah, man.
Every morning, every day.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
That's what the Bible says. So you got Azard.
Yes, indeed. Give God thanks, Miss Henry.
Thanks to the Lord. And
Yes.
good morning to all the listeners at home and abroad. Now, the CSME stands for Free Movement of People, Goods, and Capital.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the capital would be the investment in any of the countries. Interestingly, in the same Barbados, Myanmar country, there's a lot of protests saying that Trinidad owns Barbados. I don't know if Azard never hear that.
I've heard that plenty times, Miss Henry. Funny that you say it
they're
now.
making big, and they're not so friendly, How they've been sanctioned, and I don't even talk about the Guyanese.
They had a bench for them down there. Have you ever heard of that?
They have this kind of thing like Barbados or Barbadians. So when they're talking, when you hear Mia Matley, she's a good speaker.
Yeah.
But on the ground is not so.
Mm.
The electric company they had, I think it was owned by a Canadian company.
Okay.
And when a Trinidadian company thing bought it, one big uproar. And they look in Trinidad, they own everything in Barbados. There was no fussy in America and England. Now, I agree with Gaston. Gaston said they can come if there is to fill gaps in the labor force.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if we have a certain shortage in a certain skill or profession, they're free to come.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that position. Because number one, do we have enough housing? I mean, some of the schools in the country, you might have to allocate, look, you have to go to, because some of the country schools are underpopulated.
Okay.
The one down in Boyd's, Trinity.
Okay.
So therefore, is there enough housing? Because you don't want to create slums in your country. So when we are agreeing or disagreeing, there are certain things. Our countries are underpopulated, you know. And we are concerned about the social security,
Yes.
longevity. This is one we are getting saving social security too. Because there are many ways you could look at it, you know.
So the more persons we get, the more contributions will be there. Is that what you're
because if you
saying?
notice the Spanish, they're busy making sure that, well, once the children stay here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody can be there to contribute to our pension.
Okay, fair enough.
The only unfortunate thing is that when our people go and get the children in America, they ship them out when we finish educating them at CFBC.
Yeah.
So, you know, you could limit the flow. But we surely need people. Take Nevis, for example. Nevis agriculture was lagging and sagging until the Guyanese came in, you know. Are you aware of it?
No, this is the first time I'm hearing about this one. Miss Henry.
Yeah. Azard, you know about that?
Well, I know they have a very good Guyanese population involved in that.
They were, and maybe still are, the bulk of the agriculture producers.
So they were instrumental in ensuring that
so that there are
Nevis catch
certain
up.
sectors, even in St. Kitts. If you need people, because we're not talking about step, because step people, they don't spoil. They get imperative working. If you were to get some Guyanese Jamaicans to come, you know,
Hardworking folks.
I mean, you look at their criminal record and stuff. It don't make the sense you add fire.
Yes.
Fire.
Yeah.
With the Haitians now is a bit ticklish. You will have to use the same yardstick. You will have to check their background. Because it don't make no sense. You create another gang here.
Yeah.
So there is room for our population to increase. But the only trouble is we have to get the economy up and going. Up and going. Because there's some others, even in the teaching, some of these people have skills, you know, that can be used in school. You have the Africans. Why not use them to teach African history?
So do you think then, Miss Henry, we should basically stick to persons having the skill certificate so that they can move freely within CARICOM and CSME, then allowing a whole barrage of people to come?
And no demand for that skill. You only add into the population.
No, that's what I'm asking, if we only allow those persons to come. Only if we need them.
You can't stop them.
Okay. Okay.
You cannot stop them once they have a Caribbean vocational certificate, qualification. You cannot stop them. They even said agriculture workers could come, because they know in our countries we need them.
Yeah.
So what we need to do first, like Gaston said, work out what kind of skills and people we need.
Okay.
We can't find nurses, we can't find police. Bring them in and fill those gaps. You follow?
But then you're bringing them in, you're creating brain drain. Because for a place like Guyana, I know they lose all their nurses to the UK, to Canada, and to the United States because of the
Jamaicans
pay.
don't see them as brain drain. Let me tell you, Jamaica see them as one way of getting remittances.
Jamaica loses persons to Canada, medical persons to Canada, the US, and the UK as well?
even the teachers, you know, they have an agreement.
Yes, I know some teachers go up
Where
from
teachers
as
could go
well.
up and work. Yeah, so they don't see it as brain drain. They're talking as giving opportunities to the people who go to UE.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because a number.
It is called brain gain. You check out that concept.
Brain gain.
Yeah, a number of
Yes,
persons
there's brain gain.
who study
So who is
medicine.
Brain drain.
Who is
Brain is when
who is
we
benefiting
export
from the
them
brain
and they
gain?
contribute to our economy.
Okay.
Right? All right then.
Yes, thank you
Well,
so
check out the
much.
concept of brain gain.
Okay, Miss Henry, I will.
So here it says, consequently, Antigua and Barbuda did not give its consent to the full movement of all CARICOM nationals, as is being contemplated by the other member states of CARICOM come March 31st. Caller?
Go ahead, you're live on Island T. Good morning. Caller, could you turn your radio down a bit?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you so much.
Is this the nurse? Is this the nuts lady?
Yes. You know, so.
How you doing?
Yeah, what happened, right? We went up there for choke. I went and I come back. But look how long I am home since 82. 83, sorry.
Yes.
But I used to just go and come shops and go and come back. If they're gonna be free movement where we got anything to move, any free anything. They want us come put us out with own home and compromise with you when you look let you get over to get a read and you put you out your own home smartly, like when they had a thing in the Bahamas, the hurricane there in 2017. People gone there, yeah, them Haitian there with the place get damaged, and they went on this other side where people live good, and so the Habakkuk get mashed up. And they went on this other side and then started to kill our people, run them out the house, run them. People got to run up to Miami and all them deal. Yeah, it was a big thing, you know what happened? Somebody had to play brave and went on night wave, a gang of them, and just get the read and burn up the cycle, burn up the place and so. And after we cool down. So I don't know what from moment we're going from momenting, we're going to cane count to jump down, we're going to cane here to cut. People are fighting to get to house. As when you're driving, I'm sorry, if you're walking, there were people and stopping and asking you where you could get to house and so we ain't got no house. He says, yes, I don't know really going on. I beg the minister, my government know they do work out them acts in the right way. Because people let me know somebody going to just come harass me. Oh, Mr. Want come live with you, this and that, you know. They got to read on me where they walk up, take up my house paper, walk up to a liar, walk up something and maybe gone with my property, my children, my grandchildren, my child and my grandchildren. I mean, him know how they come by it. Me nobody, me where we got here. Tourism going to close them this month, you know. Going to go down slow. And what we got here, we ain't got no cane for you no more to be able. We really want them to cut cane and so. As Miss Henry say, yeah, agriculture. People here know agriculture, but they just, you know, they want to talk about the weed. That's all in their head when they go up in the mountain. And I say, they chuck to thingy and chuck to yam and potato and a bunch of fig. You ain't going to get all, you going to get some because somebody will pass it right. Ready before you maybe cut a bun like somebody will give me a joke. There's somebody bought a big bun of fig. When you look, you go back, you know, get it after a while. So, you know, I think they should limit them a little 6 months and they go back home. No, we give them what we going to do? They're going to just, you know what, they happened in Antigua the other day. There's some people just going in business but rob you, how you enjoy you. Yeah, enjoy when you're driving on the road as they stop you. Mr. Also give me a right card, you know, he's a liar, rob you. Yeah, he was going on bad in Antigua. The other friend was up there and she told me, girl up there going massacre.
Wow.
Maybe that they were harm to us. They were good there. They don't know them there in the garden. You know. They got a 9-10 guard behind them, so nothing could much happen to them. But about we want to go none at all.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you so much for your contribution. We appreciate your contribution and we really love the fact that persons are calling in and weighing in on the topic at hand. Here it says Antigua and Barbuda will, however, signal its readiness to move towards full free movement of all CARICOM nationals once it is better equipped to adequately accommodate the possible additional inflow of CARICOM nationals who may intend to reside and work in the country. So it's saying here again that Antigua and Barbuda will signal its readiness to move to full free movement of all CARICOM nationals once it is better equipped to adequately accommodate the possible additional inflow of CARICOM nationals who may intend to reside and work in the country. It should be noted that work on finalizing the legal amendments to be made to the RTC to facilitate full movement of CARICOM nationals will be conducted in the coming weeks through the convening of an IGTF meeting on March 7, 2024, a meeting of the Legal Affairs Committee on March 8, followed by a Heads of Government meeting on March 15. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning,
morning,
Carl.
Carl.
How are you?
Oh, I'm not doing too bad for my age. Guys, this CSME, I thought that was a dead fish in the water. Just floating where the current take it. They're still up with the nonsense. Guys, here is it. Antigua is saying they're going to be making the move to get ready to welcome all nationals to work. I mean, these Caribbean, as you guys don't know, I just call these leaders in the Caribbean jokers. Because here is it, you cannot find enough work for your people. But you're making preparation to welcome people from throughout the Caribbean to come and live and work. You can't find you can't find enough housing for your people, but you are inviting people to come and work. So when you are inviting people to come and work, where are they going to live? You can't provide enough house for your people here. Here is it. This present government promised us 600 houses would have been built by this month. Last year, March, they said that. They ain't finished up to now. So when you invite these Caribbean people, where are they going to live? You don't have enough. You're not preparing enough house for your people. Where are they going to live? You don't have enough jobs for your people. Where are these people going to work? Are you have enough room in your schools to accommodate all these people, children? Plus, they are going to be breeding and getting children. Are we prepared for all of that? Do we have enough water to give to them? Because you see the problem we have with water here. Are our medical facilities up to the standard to take on the load of all these people? I mean, these guys, that's why I call them jokers, you know. Because all these things you have to look into, right? How and when you are going to accommodate working permits for these people? All these things, are we ready yet?
Well, those are valid questions to be asked, Carl. And of course,
yes,
we
so
see
when the Antigua, and I know this prime minister that we have here going to get ready, going to want to say he's going to start making preparation to get ready to accept all these people. Look the other day what he did. These Kenyans and all these people who came in here with the boat that they capture or hold or rescue. They send back some. He gone on radio to say that some are left here and they find work for them. So that means he find housing for them. So we are the work and the housing for our people here who have been begging, pleading, crawling for housing and jobs. Look at what happened last week. 13 folks Casper let go. Do we have jobs to accommodate these people this week? These people have loans and all kind of things. You let them go. The same week, the government take 33% raise per parliamentarian. but you let the 13 people, small paying workers. I mean, you could see that we are shoving, square pegs in round holes. We are not up to the grade yet, guys. We are not ready yet. The same thing, we are not ready for 25 by 25.
So you're saying, Carl, that
We're
these...
talking all these things, and we're making preparation for them, and we're not nowhere ready or prepared.
So you're saying, like Antigua and Barbuda, we ought to be prepared at home before we embrace the regional agenda.
Dance a yard before you dance abroad. I always say it on the talk shows them. We have to dance a yard before we dance abroad.
Okay.
Right? And that is the problem we have been doing. We have been doing everything backwards. We dancing abroad and then want to come home to dance a yard. How you going to get that work? How you going to get your people succumb to accommodate that? We always doing we last, but doing everybody else first. Guys, that's just some of the questions and tips we got to ask our jokers that we vote in and call leaders and don't make proper preparation and adequate preparing to take on all these things. They run blindly while to all these waste of time, waste of taxpayers meeting and sign us on blindly and then doing everything backwards, and we must accept that.
Thank you so much, Carl,
It will not be
for your
accepted and
contribution.
not be appreciated. Gone.
Thank you.
Question?
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
Yeah.
Yes, we have another segment. We have the weekly dose with Dr. Osborne, and she's already here, so we had to conclude that conversation. But Carl, we appreciate your opinion, and we love the contributions by all our callers to the topic at hand. Thank you so much for calling in and weighing in on giving your opinion. We'll take a short break, and then we'll get back with our weekly dose.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Life is unpredictable. Don't miss the opportunity to provide your loved ones with the financial protection and peace of mind coverage they deserve with the Family Indemnity Plan from Kuna Caribbean Insurance. The Family Indemnity Plan covers final expenses such as funeral costs and outstanding debt in the event you or your loved one passes away for up to $30,000. No medical examination is required. Contact your credit union or one of their approved Family Indemnity Plan providers to enroll today. To learn more, call 466-9453 or 762-2973. Visit their website at kunacaribbean.com. Kuna Caribbean Insurance, for all people.
Here are your Horsford's Value Mart IGA special.
Running February 22nd to March 6th.
Now our Value Club Blue Tax specials. Lace chips $8.99. IGA and the Central Everyday Salad dressing $10.99. After popcorn $7.99. The Central Everyday Mayonnaise $16.99. Blue Ribbon Ice Cream $32.99. Pearl Mix, Pancake Mix $12.49. And now our very low weekly
Value deals. Ocean Spray Cranberry Drinks $11.99. Pulse Honey Bunches of Oat Cereals $12.99. Ensure $8.99. Rice-A-Roni Dishes $7.99. Ama Toothpaste $14.99. Dawn Dish Liquid Soap $12.99. Shop Smart, Shop Value Mart. Tell them in Spanish.
Sea listo y haga sus compras aquí en Value Mart.
Morning, and we are back. It's our segment here. It's a weekly dose with the good doctor, Dr. Natalie Osborne. And doctor, before you came, we gave them a little teaser. We told them what the topic is going to be this morning.
Oh, you
know?
did?
Yes,
Yeah.
we wanted them to be ready to embrace the topic this morning. Yes. So the topic this morning, guys, as we indicated before, it's about rectal bleeding. And so we have the good doctor here with us, and we're going to ask her, we're going to go right into it. And before we do that, I want to recognize that Dr. Osborne, this month is your anniversary here on Win FM doing the show. It's been 1 year.
Oh, wow.
I remember when she...
I bet Jamster don't remember that. Go ahead, Azard.
I remember when she came in and, it was focused about women and, we had those kind of discussions. And so you were celebrating 1 year with us. And we want to say thank you for the contribution that you gave to add to the show, the discussion. It's been wonderful so far. And we know that is only better to come. And so we want to say thank you so much.
Yes. Well appreciated.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, well appreciated. Time flies so quickly, huh?
Yes, it does. Yes, it really does.
Before we get into the topic, I'll just add to it the discipline it takes, because sometimes people see that we come here and we have these discussions, but behind the scenes, it's a lot of research, a lot of discussion, and it's always trying to stay on what is going to be best information for the community, what topics would be most helpful. So it's always a weekly discussion in my head and wondering how can I put this forward to the audience. So it does take time, and it does take discipline and consistency, and those are qualities that you want in your doctor, because some doctors you got to make sure you're available.
We do appreciate you. In fact, there is a gentleman from, I think it's St. Eustatius or Sabre, I can't recall, but it's one of the two, and he has actually taken some of what you have said and rebroadcast and highlight the good doctor in her discussions on topic. Good. Yes.
I was aware of that.
He is a huge fan of you. Of yours, yes.
That's great. That's great. It's always good to see. But our main objective is always to inform. So it's not to impress, it's to inform. My partner always said that when you go out, you're trying to inform the public and not really to impress. And we're so happy that they embrace the information that we give them weekly. And so I'm so grateful for the team here who's always here with me, Kortensia, Azard. So it's always a pleasure to work with you, and Jamster.
No problem. Yes. Thank you so much, Doctor. And so for persons out there, right, we're talking about rectal bleeding, and we have the doctor here with us. Persons up there would have an understanding, an idea of what it is, but in terms of the medical aspect and medical definition, how would you define it?
Yes, so it's really as it says, rectal bleeding. So that is blood coming from the butt, from the anus, from the back passage, anyhow you want to describe that. But we say rectal, but we've spoken about this, about the colon. The colon has several different parts. The rectum is one of the most distal part, or just before the stool or the fecal matter exits, but it englobes all part of the GI tract or the gastrointestinal tract. So once we have bleeding that comes out of the anus, that is what we call rectal bleed.
Yes.
So how does rectal bleeding appear?
Well, rectal bleed would appear depends on a few things. Depends on where exactly along the gastrointestinal tract this blood is coming from. When you think about it, this tract is long, and to be honest, blood can come anywhere starting from the esophagus, which is the food pipe, right down to the rectum, if you want to make sure that we include everything. But most times we focus on what is coming out of the colon, because those are the most common thing. So when you see bright red blood on the toilet paper, yes, that is typically how it appears. So some person may not like to hear it, but you wipe and you see some bright, fresh blood. It usually indicates something that happened recently, something that's just happening. And it usually indicates that it's closer to the exit passage or closer to the anus. You may sometimes see that blood drop in the toilet bowl as well. So some person will say, Doc, when I look back, I saw that the toilet water was colored, it was red. All right? And if the blood is a little bit darker, it may indicate that the blood is coming from further up, where it gets a bit broken down, or that the blood has been sitting there for a while, so it's a little bit older. So these are some of the things you want to keep in mind. So the bright red blood indicates it's usually fresher and usually from the more distal end of the tract, or if it is a little bit darker, it's coming from much further up, or it's been sitting there a while and it got broken down. Most time it would appear just when you wipe using the toilet paper.
Okay, so you mentioned the color of the blood that you see may be a clue to where it's coming from. So another question would be, is the bright red blood in stool worse than the darker blood, the darker color blood?
Well, that is relative, though, because it all depends on several different factors. We spoke about some of them. But some persons, when they see the bright red blood, of course, it can be alarming, and it usually denotes that it's some sort of active bleed. Sometimes the older blood denotes that it is a blood that has been old or sitting there. The same way like any blood. Once it starts being oxidized, it changes colors, okay? So the bright red blood usually denotes that it is a more active bleed, something that is fresher. Usually it's further down in the tract. But don't always take one versus the other, because if the blood is older or darker, it could be that it's been sitting there a while, but it sometimes mean that, as we said, that is coming further up in the colon. But one doesn't make it worse than the other, though. Typically, you're looking for some of the, based on the color of the blood, you're thinking what may be the possible diagnosis. Usually, the lighter the blood is or the fresher the blood is, it's usually further down, and we're going to get into that. Could be hemorrhoids, things like that, okay, of that nature.
And we've been here, we're talking about blood in stool, right, doctor? And we're talking about it as a normal conversation, but, you know, it's something to be worried about. That's the next question. When should you really worry when you see blood in your stool?
Okay, the good thing about it is, because we're not fearmongers here, so we like to make sure informed, but the good thing about it, most times blood in the stool usually is a benign condition or something that is not scary. You want to be concerned about it if it's persistent. Most of us, and though it is embarrassing to talk about, most of us at some point in our lifetime would have had blood coming through the stool. If you observe it for a couple of days and it disappears, because maybe your stool was very hard at that particular time, you were concerned about it, you could have had a little tear there or a little bruising, and you could have that blood in the stool. But if you see that it is persistent, then you want to make sure that you go and have it checked out. You want to also know why it is happening, how frequently it's happening. The longer it goes on, it's more scary. The amount of blood as well will make you be more concerned. But if you have a day or two or just one bowel motion and you have some bleeding, maybe that's nothing. It would usually go away. But if you see that it's persistent, it is best to have it checked out, because you don't want to think that it's something minor when there's something there. And if you continue to have this blood in the stool and you already have a diagnosis, for example, you may think, oh, I have hemorrhoids, that might be the cause. But what if it's not that the cause at that particular time? You need to have that checked once it becomes persistent. And also, if this blood becomes quite heavy or frequent, we already established that. Once or twice, you may be able to let that pass. But if it becomes more frequent, you will want to have that checked out.
Okay, so you mentioned already some of the causes of rectal bleeding, but there's some, I heard hemorrhoids. I didn't hear anything about the anal fissures. Can you speak to that one?
So some of the common causes of rectal bleeding, okay, there are many reasons we call rectal bleeding. There are blood in the stool. So it may be a mild condition, it may be something severe, it may be a benign condition. Hemorrhoids is one of the most common. Hemorrhoids are what we call like veins that covered with tissue that become dilated. And if the stool is hard or sometimes very frequent, if you're having lots of diarrhea, it irritates, and these blood vessels, these veins, break and they start bleeding. And so this is one of the most common reasons. If you have a stool, a motion that is very hard, or have some underlying condition, you may then have a little tear there by the anus. The anus has a muscle there. So if the stool diameter is very thick, it's very hard, it can really tear the muscle there, or tear the skin, and give you what we call a fissure, and then you can have pain. That is usually associated with a painful rectal bleed, usually when you wipe there, but it's very uncomfortable. And then what happened? That muscle can go into spasm, making it more uncomfortable. And then you're even afraid to have further bowel motions because now you're starting to have pain. And so then what would you do? You avoid going to the bathroom, but then when you go, it's harder now, and then it becomes a repetitive or a cycle. So you want to think about some of these things. There are other conditions that we would have mentioned before, inflammatory bowel disease. These are a group of diseases that cause inflammation in the lining of the bowels, and it can slough off, cause bleeding. And so usually that is mixed with some kind of stool, like bloody diarrhea. You'll often hear the person present to you saying, "Doc, I'm having bloody diarrhea." You want to start thinking some of these things. A common thing, and it's as we get older, we have this condition that is a benign condition we call diverticulosis. This is nothing more than when you have a weakness in the colon because of pressure. Persons who have chronic constipation, the pressure inside the colon and the muscle, you have to force more. So there's increased pressure, and you cause these little pockets or outpouching in the colon. When you look into the colon, they almost look like little potholes. And those can bleed. As the stool passes, there's a blood vessel there usually associated with these little outpouching, and it can irritate and cause bleeding. That bleeding can be quite abundant. Usually we see it in older persons too, because as you get older, not only your muscles on the outside weaken, your muscles in all of your organs and structures, they weaken as well. And the most scary of them, when we have polyps, we would have mentioned polyps in the past too. You can have a polyp in the colon, that's little flesh-like stuff that comes from the inner lining of the colon, and they can become irritated and bleed. And as they grow and as stool pass by, they can bruise it and create a bleeding condition. And the most deadly is to have a colorectal cancer, any kind of cancer in the colon, and that can lead to bleeding as well. So there's several different causes. You ultimately would not know unless you're seeing, you're evaluated to make sure which of these conditions that you may have, okay? Sometimes in children may have parasites, and that can cause a bleeding. You can have things like bacterial infection, often in children too, okay, and that can cause rectal bleeding.
So the parasites cause the bleeding, and it's not the dead parasites that are passing out.
No, because the parasites, as they're there too, they're reacting with the lining of the bowel, and create that reaction, inflammation, sloughing off, and so then you can have bleeding. Okay.
So, Doc, since you mentioned these parasites, I want to dig a little deeper. Do you know what caused them in the children?
Well, usually parasites are with children get in contact with the dirt. Okay. These parasites, okay, you get the little what you call them, the little cysts or the little things, the eggs. You pick them up from they're playing in the dirt. They're having contact with these stuff outside, and they're putting their hands in their mouth. Okay. That's why it's mostly seen in children. Okay, toddlers.
Okay. So, can food cause the appearance of blood in your stool?
That's a good question. Food, it all depends on what type of food you eat. Some of us, if you eat blueberries, certain things that are very dark in color, I think beets to certain food, you can have that discoloration of your stool, and you may think that, oh, do I have blood in my stool, okay? Sometimes you have some iron supplements and stuff may make your stool look really black, and you may think, oh, I may have some I may have blood in my stool. You have things like tomatoes, any kind of red food coloring. You might have had some stuff that is red. And
Cheetos.
Then, okay. And it discolor your stool, and you have that concern. But you'll realize after a day or two, the color returns to the normal coloration.
All right.
So the question is, how do healthcare providers determine the cause of rectal bleeding?
Okay, once you have a patient that comes to you for evaluation for rectal bleed, you first have to ask the relevant question. Any interview with a patient, when a patient comes to you, like an investigator, so you delve in to find what is the reason. You ask the relevant question. When did the rectal bleeding start? What is the color of the blood? Is it bright? Is it associated soon after you would have defecated? Is it that it stained the toilet paper? Is it that there was a lot of blood in the toilet bowl? Did it discolor the toilet bowl? Is it dark in nature? Does it have thick clots? Because you want to get a sense of how much of this bleeding there is, how much of blood there is, how frequently it has been happening. Is it painful? Is it painless? Okay, it will always give you some hints. And there are several things a physician can do in the office if they have it. You can use a small little scope, like a proctoscope or anoscope, and you can look just there in the anus and see if you see a thing like a tear or fissure. You can look and see if we have hemorrhoids. You can see the dilated blood vessels just there, or any kind of an abnormality that is just there in the rectum. You can do that and see. Then we have other studies that we've spoken about. You can do a colonoscopy, which we use a flexible tube and we're looking into the colon. And that would be a little bit more definitive because you will be able to see the entire colon. If there's a polyp there, you can see that. If there is a tumor there, you can address that. Okay, if there is diverticular disease there, you can see that and help to make come to the conclusion along with your patient what is the diagnosis of this rectal bleeding.
All right. So what is the treatment?
Well, the treatment is always going to come down to whatever the cause of this bleeding is. Okay. If we have hemorrhoids, most of it benign, it can be managed with over-the-counter treatment. You have preparation H, anisole, those kind of steroids. I know our people go to the pharmacy all the time and buy them. Okay, you can do some of these over-counter things. Change your diet. You want to make sure you get a diet that is rich in fiber. You want to make sure you drink lots of water so your stool is nice and soft. And that would also help with the fissure as well too. There's some local gels you can put there, like a lidocaine gel that helps with the inflammation, helps with the pain, so it's not so painful. Most of these things heal on their own spontaneously once you use the medical management. You can also do sitz baths where you sit in some warm water for a bit every day or twice a day. Helps to relax the muscles there and allow that the injury would heal. So most of these things can be managed. If you have things like diverticular disease, that is worsened if you have had stools or if you're constipated. So you want to encourage your patient to have a high fiber diet. You can give fiber supplements along with that as well. You want to also ensure that this person drink lots of fluid, have their fruits and vegetables, and have regular bowel motion to decrease the bleeding associated with diverticular disease. If you have things like polyps, once we do a colonoscopy and any polyp that is seen, that polyp should be removed. If you have things like an infection in a child, you have parasites or bacterial infection, you've got antibiotics that can cover some of these stuff. You want to give your parasitic drugs, the drugs to help antiparasitic drugs. If you have a colorectal cancer, then that is where surgery would come in. You want to remove that area that has the cancer. And if it comes down to it, then you can do chemotherapy along with that and other kind of hormonal therapy, okay? So it all comes down to what is the cause of my rectal bleed. That would determine how I go about it.
With the hemorrhoids, I know you said treatment, but at what point is surgery involved when it comes to hemorrhoids?
Well, I like that question. It all depends because we can classify hemorrhoids into different grades from 1 to 4. If you have a grade 3 or grade 4, that means that the tissue is coming out, and it's there and it's really bothersome. It's irritating in your clothes. It's not resolving with any of the over-the-counter medication. You will then have to go in and have that surgery.
Okay.
So, what are the complications of rectal bleeding?
Oh, well, complication of rectal bleeding. One of the most importantly, anemia. As you're bleeding, because you may not know how much you're bleeding, but over time the bleeding becomes persistent. I've seen patients whose blood count has dropped off and they have a hemoglobin level of 9, less than 9, because of the persistent bleeding. And so you can have this anemia associated with you feeling fatigue, you're feeling weak, you're feeling faint, you're feeling dizzy. So all of these would indicate that you'll have some anemia. You can also go into shock. let's say, for example, in rare occasions where you have quite a lot of bleeding at one time. In certain conditions, for example, if a person has diverticular disease, they can bleed quite heavily. And this can drop off your blood count quite quickly, and your blood pressure can go down. You can go into what we call a shock because of loss of blood. These persons will have to be hospitalized and transfused. So those are the two main reasons. So you don't want to ignore it, because what happens oftentimes, more times than not, the patient is bleeding slowly, and you keep ignoring it because it becomes so habitual or frequent. You say, oh, I have hemorrhoids. And you keep bleeding, and then you start realizing you're getting weary, you're getting tired. Every time you walk, you're feeling more and more exhausted. And then you realize that your blood count has dropped off significantly. All right, but it's become such a chronic problem, you didn't even realize it was happening until it becomes so severe, and you realize you're having this shortness of breath. You're just feeling extra tired, and then you get your blood count check, and you realize that you have anemia. So these are things that you want to address. I want to remind us, though, that rectal bleeding most times is benign, nothing that is cancerous or bad. And most time it's not as scary because hemorrhoids are very common. But I don't want you to think, for example, I'll give you the scenario. I have a 60-year-old patient who's had hemorrhoids for a couple of years. You don't want to ignore that and think, oh, the bleeding is just the hemorrhoids. What if we're missing a tumor, a cancer that is further up? That is why you always have to do your studies and ensure that what you think the problem is truly that. So then if you were to find that, okay, this person, you do your studies, your colonoscopy, and it's just the hemorrhoids, and you can repair the hemorrhoids or manage it or whatever. But you don't want to be thinking it is one thing and while ignoring a complication or something that can be much more devastating, like a colorectal cancer.
So you always have to consult your physician, folks. So as she said, do not take it lightly. And if you know you're somebody that doesn't eat enough fiber, drink enough water, and you are experiencing hard stools, please consult your doctor or a nutritionist to get the information that you need to eat the right things to help.
Okay, good.
Yes. There, at this point in time, are there any callers, persons out there who wish to give their ask a question on the matter? Talking about rectal bleeding, and if you have a question, it's your opportunity to call in and ask.
And the reason that I chose this this topic today, I'll give you a story while we wait for our callers. If anyone wants to call in, they can do so at any point. But there was a patient I had, I think in December. He was having abdominal pain. He was having lots of gas. He was feeling really uncomfortable. But ultimately, he turned out to have a colon cancer. And after the fact, and after the treatment and everything, he said, Doc, I was having rectal bleeding, but I was too embarrassed to speak on it. Many persons are embarrassed to talk about it because we always know that the rectum or the anus is your private part. You don't want to discuss that matter. And so many persons would have these bleeding conditions, but just too embarrassed to approach anyone or to get it checked out. So that is what we do not want you to do. It's very common. Hemorrhoids are extremely common. Lots of rectal bleeding is common. So do not be embarrassed to get it checked out just to make sure that there is no underlying problem.
Yes. So make sure you contact your physician. Make sure you go to... Okay, we have a caller. Go ahead, caller. Okay. So we are talking about... Okay, we have another caller. Caller,
go ahead. You're live on Weekly Dose. I like to say Daily Dose.
Good morning, Doc. Morning to Island Tea again. Doc, why is it? I'm a Rasta man.
Good morning. Go ahead.
I'm a taught prophet of Israel. Doc, why is it the health department who is failing us and failing black people with all these diseases? Why they ain't recommending ITAL in the hospital? A lot of patients in the hospital, you know, they eat so much garbage. As my elder brethren, Eli X, always come to Island Tea and demonstrate that. The pollution you got up there in the hospital, in the eating, garbage they getting sick people. You think chicken look like it and do Doc, we have to eat healthy and with prices. Eat healthy, think it's serious. Otherwise, when I visit the hospital, I'm watch eye up there, eye foot hang up, and killing the doctor them to find out eye problems. Have a good day, doc.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamda.
Thank you so much for your contribution.
It's always, let's say this, can I be frank? It's always easier said than done. These limitations we have, and I'm very proud of saying it, so I would always protect my island. We have limitations, socioeconomic limitations, financial limitations in the hospital. We always do encourage our patients to eat as best as they can, but persons do have these difficulties. And even the institution have these resources and limited resources. Everything is done with a budget. And we know that the staff do in the kitchen, you try to make, do as best as you can. Providing some salads, some tomatoes, you have your green leafy vegetables. At times, it may not be as we would like it to be. And we have to know that. And we always, sometimes we say this, but maybe some farmer, if he has some extra vegetables, he can donate it to the hospital. That would always help. Because everybody would need to put their hands on board to and assist to make it a better and to make the situation better. So it's not only that we speak and complain. The hospital works with a limited budget, and you always have to think of that. So if someone wants to support private businesses, private entities, and you want to make a donation, I do not think that the hospital will refuse some fresh tomatoes or fresh carrots if you can do that, if you have a garden or a farm.
Caller, go ahead. You're live on Weekly Dose. Hello, caller.
Yes, and Doc, me again. We understand that because you're some real farmers feel they're going to get rich in 13 days. I had a good friend. He passed on to the great beyond. Had a fowl farm. And he told me when Douglas administration was in power, he used to give eggs all the time from since Bratcher come back for the poor people in the hospital, like cracked eggs and stuff. It's good. And Douglas administration, who was up there, refused because of who he am and who he support. And we're condemning these things. And we want to tell the farmers to please help out the situation. Let me see.
Okay, we lost Jamdown. But Jamdown, thank you for your comments. We really appreciate it. And for those that are listening, as a good doc say, the hospital will not refuse your donations. We can all chip in to make this better.
Yeah. It's always easier if everybody plays their part, ultimately.
Yes. So, Doc, you have a fan, Dave Livingstone. He says, good morning to the good doctor, checking in from Sabre. He's the one who does a show as well. And he features your discussions by highlighting what you've discussed.
Dave Livingston, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Livingston, and thank you for your support and always listening in. All right. So we want to encourage all our citizens, those who can afford, and we can support each other. Always, if you have a little extra, give it to a neighbor who you know may have limitations. But we want to make sure and encourage each other to drink enough water, be encouraged to have a lot of fruits and vegetables, because I've had patients who told me they do not eat any vegetables, and we want to make sure and encourage our people to know that. Eating healthy can eliminate or decrease a lot of these complications and health issues, because over the year that we've been here together, Azard, you realize almost everything that we've discussed can be improved with a healthy diet, and losing weight, exercise. So we can always do that. So even within our limitations, we can always try to improve. Instead of buying the candies, we can buy a carrot.
But some people might say, Doc, that in order to eat healthy, it breaks our pockets, because we know nothing that's good is not cheap, and things that are not good, those are the ones that are cheap.
Well, there can be some pushback. If you go to the local market, your dollar can be pushed quite a long way, you know.
Okay, caller, go ahead. You're live on Weekly Dose.
We lost a caller.
Yeah.
So it's not always correct to say that, because sometimes a bag of chips is $11, $15.
Yeah,
You can get a
depending
few
on the size.
Yeah, you can get a few carrots for those,
Yeah,
that bag
you're
of
correct.
chips.
You're
As I said to her yesterday, you go in and you see Oreos and it's almost $20, and you got some apples over there that you could get for oranges or tangerines that you could get.
And
You
we've got the
understand?
local fruits as well, to don't discard those, your
not
soursop,
at all.
your
Mangoes.
Mangoes, your yes, and you can have
Bananas.
access to those, and those are not really expensive. So usually when there's a will, there is a way. So we cannot always put up a block or blockade and
say it's
thinking that we
expensive.
cannot do it, okay?
And what you don't spend on the food now,
You
you
will
probably spend
probably
in
go to the
healthcare.
doctor's office and
Yes.
spend it. Yep,
That's an excellent point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. So, guys, as we conclude our weekly dose with Dr. Natalie Osborne, we want to say thank you so much, Doctor, for coming here and being with us weekly to give us the medical information that, the listeners are so willing and they wait in anticipation every week,
Every week. So what date exactly is your first anniversary here at Win FM?
Well, we'll have to look back at that,
Yes.
and I will do that. So next week we'll tell you exactly when, because I'll have the
Ooh,
information from that
okay.
birthday. You know what?
Okay.
And put a couple balloons to celebrate.
We might have something special in here.
Ooh, la la! Looking forward to that.
So we'll speak next week,
Okay.
Tuesday, as
Yes.
usual. And I want to wish everyone an excellent day and a beautiful rest of the week. So have a
Yes,
great day.
No problem.
Alrighty,
See you
thank
soon,
you, Doc.
guys. We
Bye-bye.
continue after this.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9 Win FM.
Rams the good food people, always there to serve you. Rams the good food people, locations right near you. Rams the good food people, in-store specials for you. Rams the good food people. Rams. When you need better service, Rams is always here. Better value, better prices. Rams is always here. New one in your loyalty. Rams is always here. We are community. We are family. We are family. Rams for you and me. We are community. Rams for you and me.
Are you looking for a new dining experience to whet your appetite? Explore the flavors of the world at Pangea Multi-Cuisine Kitchen and Lounge. Our menu features Latin, Chinese, Mexican, and Indian cuisine with a local twist. The cozy and elegant ambiance provides the perfect backdrop for an unforgettable dining experience. Whether you're in the mood for a romantic night out, a family dinner, or a business lunch, our restaurant is the perfect place to discover new tastes and enjoy a delicious meal. Book your table at Pangea Multi-Cuisine Kitchen and Lounge today by calling us at 465-9100 or visit our website at ktcsvdm.com and our Facebook page at Pangea by KTCS Limited. We are located in the heart of Port Sante Bastille St. Kitts. Come and explore the flavors of the world.
Fruta, taste the real Fruta, enjoy the real Fruta, refreshing juice of every day. Whoa, Fruta, drink the real Fruta, your favorite Fruta, the natural taste is Fruta. Fruta.
Your favorite fruit has got a new skin with real juice within. Drink the real Fruta. Enjoy the real joy.
Taste the real Fruta, enjoy the real Fruta, refreshing juice of every day is Fruta.
Fruta, juiced right.
And we are back. We're back on Island Tea, and we just had a discussion. We were talking about rectal bleeding with the Dr. Natalie Osborne on Weekly Dose here on WINFM Island T. And before we had our discussion with the doctor, we were here and we were talking about the CARICOM and CARICOM's position to expand to ensure free movement of nationals up by March 31st. And we had a number of persons who called in. They gave their opinion, they expressed their views. Some agreed with the Antigua and Barbuda's position to have make sure that everything is good at home first before embarking on such undertaking. So I was reading from the Antigua newsroom, and just to share what it said as well, it says here, it is hoped that the CARICOM Secretariat will undertake a comprehensive public education program on this matter once all arrangements have been concluded, to avoid needless confusion on the movement of CARICOM nationals. So, we have seen where Antigua and Barbuda, it says that Antigua and Barbuda remains committed to regional integration and regional integration movement. It continues to balance, and it says while Antigua and Barbuda remains committed to regional integration movement, it continues to balance its limited resources through a process of managed migration, which the current CSME skills regime facilitates. And I want to repeat that. And it says here, while Antigua and Barbuda remains committed to the regional integration movement, it continues to balance its limited resources through a process of managed migration, which the current CSME skills regime facilitates. So I think that, in a nutshell, seems to be the position of Antigua and Barbuda on the matter. We have a caller. Caller?
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
One of the factors that must be considered with regards to free movement in the context of St. Kitts is that we need, contrary to what many people think, we need more people in St. Kitts Nevis.
Yeah.
Look at the threat faced by our Social Security scheme, where the number of persons claiming is increasing and the number of persons contributing proportional to the claimants is decreasing. A couple of years ago, we had a situation, I don't know if it was repeated last year, whereby the amount paid out in benefits was less than the amount collected. The actuary has been pointing this out for years, about that we are facing a challenge. Now, one may say, well, okay, carry up the contributing rates. Are people willing to pay 7% Social Security contributions in order to make up the difference? As has been not so delicately put, one of the challenges we face with regards to our population and meeting our Social Security commitments, we will either have to import people, or locally we will have to breed more. And one of the natural developments of most countries, as the standard of living improves, couples have fewer children. It was not uncommon for people to have 4, 6 children 40 years ago. Today, families are much smaller. People are planning and saying, look, how many children can I afford to have? How am I better able to provide for my children? I'm better able if I have 2 than if I have 5. And so when we say, basically, we don't want more people here, let's face the fact. We need more people here. One of the, we know things like China or India. But the Chinese for years said, no, we don't need so many children. And there was the one-child policy. Well, guess what's happening now? Their population is falling. They cannot maintain the obligations to the growing, healthily older people. And so that's putting a challenge to them. Why do people want to come to St. Kitts? Because life in St. Kitts is better than elsewhere. Kittians are not trying to get to Dominica or Grenada or St. Vincent. But people from other Caribbean islands want to come here because the standard of living is better, standard of living is higher, the wages are higher. It's because things are better here. And so this thing by saying, no, we won't want them, we don't want them. Finally, let's consider this. Would we be equally pleased if the United States and other countries, Canada, for example, say, no, those Kittians, let them stay where they be. They got good things down there. We ain't want them up here. If we Kittitian divisions who are living in every country on the globe take the attitude, we want to go wherever we choose to go. But we don't even want our own regional people to come. We are making a big mistake.
Before
go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, as you conclude, and just to put things in perspective and to ask the question, there are persons, so that's the view that you put in, and during the whole conversation, there are persons who were saying that here in St. Kitts, we don't even have the resources to meet our population in supplying housing, in ensuring that jobs are available. Just how do you compare what you've said to that? How would you give an answer?
When we make the claim we don't have the housing will develop. Yeah, look, when we leave and go to other countries to improve our standard of living, they're content to sleep 2 people to a bed. We're content to sleep 6 and 8 persons in a house because we are seeking to better ourselves. Mm-hmm. People who come here looking for jobs, looking for work, have the same attitude. People have the same attitude whenever they're trying to improve their situation. So the idea that we should wait until all of the houses are created, it doesn't work like that. Demand creates the supply. People are not going to build houses hoping that people are going to come. The demand will create supply in the case of housing. In the case of jobs are generated by demand. Why is it that the people who come here, many of them are filling jobs that Kittitian divisions are saying they're unwilling to do? How is it that people come here from the Dominican Republic and other places? They bring skills that in some cases we have not been developing. Who are the tailors that you see in Bass here and the seamstresses? Are they locals? There are people who have come from elsewhere and are bringing skills that we are not developing ourselves. Why is it that the construction companies are having difficulty finding laborers locally? Because either we have failed to go to avail ourselves of the skills being taught at our local college, or we are not interested in that work because it's working out in hot sun, etc. People are not coming to St. Kitts to sit down and collect welfare. That's one thing for sure. There's no welfare here to be collected. It's because jobs are there. We, the locals, are not willing to do the jobs for those wages, and therefore others are willing to do them. Look in our hospitality industries. So many people working in our hospitality industries are not from St. Kitts and Nevis. These are very good paying jobs relative to the rest of the workforce. But we choose that we don't want to do them. The same thing happens if you look in North America. Who are picking the grapes and the lettuce and the apples and the oranges? People who cross over from Mexico and come from other places because the locals are not willing to do it. It happens in Europe. It happens in every improving economy that the locals say, we are not willing to work for those wages. And guess what? People come from elsewhere who are willing to work for them. And so this notion of saying there are too many of us here not having jobs and having opportunities is a short-sighted way of looking at it, because development involves population growth. And if population growth is not going to come through local people, the indigenous people having more children, it has to come from people coming in. Look at the countries of Korea, Japan, and other countries who have stable populations, or in the case of Korea, falling populations, and consider the alarm bells that are ringing there. We are small, I know. We are within a small region. But if we are going to be so, dare I say, close-minded to say, we don't want people even coming from our own neighbors, no wonder intra-regional movement in terms of travel is so limited. We are saying, look, we don't want you. We want the Americans to come down here. We want the Europeans to come down here and stay in our beaches and our hotels, etc. But we don't want our regional people to come here even to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your contribution. We appreciate your opinion. We have.
Hello?
Hey, we have another caller. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, hey, Azard,
Yes,
real quickly, man.
No problem. You have the time.
I know,
Go ahead.
right? Concerning the discussions here this morning,
Mm-hmm.
we know that people are the number one resources of a country, right? The Chinese know that all too well. Nevis, to me, I know Nevis is underpopulated, and I can't talk too much about St. Kitts. I'm from Nevis, and I can talk to that. And we need more people in Nevis. All we got to do is we need more people in the federation totally. All we got to do is build up the infrastructure accordingly to accommodate the increase, and and put a cap in it. You know what I mean? But once we build up the infrastructure and we increase in the population, the economy is going to grow, bro. We know that. And that's just my small contribution for now. Thanks, man. Have a good day.
No problem. Thank you so much. Thank you for your contribution. We appreciate your opinion, guys. We appreciate what you bring to the show. We have another caller? Okay. So we are in discussion about CARICOM and its plans. The heads of government, they met just recently, and they have set March 31st, the end of this month, yes, as for the full implementation. We have a caller.
Yeah, good morning. The point I was making earlier,
yes,
right, is that it's to be practical, essentially, because a lot of the arguments, like, for instance, what Snyder just made, are correct. We need more people, but it has to be done in a regulated and organized way. We can't just have a free-for-all and expect things to go as we planned. Well, we're not even planning. Expect things to fall into place eventually, because that may mean that we end up being essentially the draining pond for the other regions until other countries, until the economic situation improves. Okay? So I'm saying it should be regulated, and one way of regulating it is to do the phased approach where, like countries, and I made the example of the OECS, where you don't have any chaos in migration. People move back and forth, etc. Fill the spaces because people not going. They may go to seek opportunities, but if the opportunities are not there, they're going to pick up and go somewhere else. Not going to stay there and just wallow in whatever. Okay? So I'm saying that you should have like countries with the like stage of development and pretty similar populations. Try this first in, let's say, phase one. So you can have, well, we already have the OECS, okay? We can have a Barbados-Guyana relationship where at least population-wise they're sort of comparable. You can have a Trinidad-Jamaica relationship similarly. You can even have a Bahamas-Bermuda relationship, okay? Because again, it's pretty much the same. They're pretty much on the same economic level. When you do that now and have these stronger units with larger populations and, the populations filling in the gaps, you can then discuss with the OECS, right, collectively, so you don't have no mass migration in one island to pull it down, okay? You have a more regulated, monitored approach to things, and I think that will eventually get the kind of development we have. We'd have increased population, but in an organized way. The gaps will be filled, but in an organized way, okay? And we, too, can also migrate to places that have opportunities in the larger islands or more economically developed islands, right? I'm just appealing for organization and monitoring and regulation as opposed to a free-for-all. I know that CARICOM, well, I don't know who exactly is driving this. Might be CARICOM, who's been stung by criticism that, man, you have these nice flowing plans and nothing materializes, and somebody just decided, get up and decide, just bite the bullet and do it, and whatever happens, happens. I don't think that sounds like an approach that is doomed to fail. Okay, and so I would not even say Antigua. Antigua should not be going along with those kinds of decisions. It should be, I mean, they go and talk all the time. I would have thought that these are things they would have discussed, okay, and come to some agreement on the best way forward, instead of each territory doing its own thing. That's a mockery of integration, right? So let's hope, and let's hope at least here, I guess we're not going to have the leadership on it, because other countries have already stepped out and staked their position. I just saw something, for instance, that Turks and Caicos is banning Haitians altogether. Whether you go there, you're going there for leisure, legitimately, or for business, just outright banning Haitians. When you have these kinds of unilateral decisions, it doesn't bode well. Okay, so I'm appealing for more consensus, more negotiation, more talking to arrive at the best solution for all. And it's possible, because if the EU can do it, because remember they had a similar situation in terms of disparity of incomes between the countries. If they can do it, I am sure we can do it as well.
Well, you realize with the EU, the Brexit, so they're
Brexit
still
was England.
Yes.
And they were always protective of their pound anyway.
Yes.
Okay, they were way out in front of the EU countries, the rest of the EU countries in terms of standard of living and so on. And now, I mean, I think not that they're having second thoughts with Brexit, because part of that was about sovereignty, but I don't think Britain has benefited from Brexit. I mean, they may not want to admit it, but you see reports of low economic growth and the economy not doing as good as they would have hoped. the trade deals that they hope they'd get with the U.S. and Canada, those have fallen apart. So there is that. But Brexit was essentially about England.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a similar thrust for the other countries in Europe to do this. Not at the moment, at least.
I'm not saying that they have the other countries, but I'm saying just like the European Union, you talked about the strengths and the benefits. You see too where a country, even despite of all of that, still had its own position and decided to leave. And just like here, we have countries part of CARICOM.
Is a particular case. You know, England always want to be dominant. I guess it's from their past experience, right? And as soon as you see the French and the Germans assuming any kind of leadership role, they're not going to take lightly to that. So anyway,
you don't think this? I just being devil's advocate here. You don't think the same is here in the Caribbean with some countries?
Which country want to be dominant? you don't see the same kind of effect, and they certainly don't have the history of dominating the region. No country. Which country would have had that? And any country that might have had that, like any one of the larger countries, be it Trinidad or Jamaica, the history has shown that they haven't fared well, you know, and they probably rethink. They would not admit it because, I mean, it's a question of nationalism, national pride, and so on. But really and truly, the figures, the stats show that the OECS have done, the smaller countries have done better than the larger ones.
Yes.
I mean, that's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you can't eat your cake and still have it. At some point, we have to bite the bullet. But in biting the bullet, we don't have to do it in a chaotic way. We can, you know, sit down like big people and negotiate and regulate and monitor and do those things to make sure we're getting the outcomes that we want. And I'm still saying that we here in the Federation need to have some kind of position on this. We should not be, you know, behind the eight ball, so to speak, watching other countries go ahead before making our position known. You know, we can come out and lead, right? Because remember, we have a microcosm of the thing, you know, between St. Kitts and Nevis, right? There are issues there, similar issues there to be dealt with, not on the same scale, but certainly similar issues of territorial, you know, being territorial and those sorts of things, sharing political power, and, you know, those kinds of things.
Well,
I mean, if we can solve it, would be a good example for the rest of the region.
It'll be quite interesting, and it will be. I think a lot of persons will look forward to our position, St. Kitts and Nevis. We know that our Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew, and his delegations that they were set to attend, and they attended the 46th regular meeting of the Conference of the Heads of Government, CARICOM in Guyana.
Nice?
So
you know what would be nice?
It'll be good to see
and
what
I mean, it's probably wishful thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But if St. Kitts and Nevis were to approach Anguilla, were to increase cooperation with Anguilla because I don't think Anguilla is going to remain a colony forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the vein of them forming an association again, this time on equal terms. It wasn't equal the first time, but this time on equal terms, and include even places like St. Martin, right? Develop a framework that each of those, that all the surrounding islands can buy into. Increase cooperation to the point where you have those kinds of things like free movement, as CSMEs, so to speak, for the smaller regions, okay? Mm-hmm. We deal with the political and so on things afterwards. But once you establish that movement of people and that the settlement of people within that small sphere, okay, and it's successful, it will serve as an impetus for the rest of the region to do the same. And that's what I'm talking about, a phased approach. Right? But somebody had to spearhead it, of course, and I don't know.
Antigua is very
More-
vocal
more-
on its position, and very they have clarified what their stance is. And Antigua and Barbuda, in relation to the matter.
Antigua and Barbuda.
Yes.
Yeah, they've been
Yes.
out front. They've been totally out front. And you can understand their position as well,
Yes.
right? But what I'm saying, it should have been a regional thing that it should have been a regional position on how this thing is to go forward, not individual islands stating a position.
But the fact, but we can assume the fact that Antigua and Barbuda has said this, it perhaps would seem like, this their opinion of how things should be done may be different to how the others would agree. The fact that they had to come out and make this announcement.
I don't know that the others have agreed, right?
Well,
I
they have
still a work
been
in
silent.
progress. It's still a work in progress.
Okay.
And
Yes.
I do think
So, Mr. McMahon, we're out of time.
If Antigua and Barbuda was the only one holding out on something like this, I think there would have been a lot of pressure on them, and they probably would have succumbed to it. But I don't think it's them alone. I think other countries, it's just that Gaston Brown, you know how he is.
Yes.
So he comes straight out. Essentially, he's going to come straight out and put his foot down and make his position very clear. Okay, that's the kind of politician he is. You don't hold back, right? But I'm saying behind the scenes, I would imagine that the mere fact that they have arrived at some point where they say that the 31st of March is some kind of dead.
Mr. McMahon, we'll have to cut it there. Sorry about that. We're out
Okay.
of time. Thank you for your contribution, and we want to
sure.
thank everybody who weighed in on the topic this morning and discussed the matters that we presented. Thank you so much. Have a pleasant Tuesday. See you tomorrow, same time, same place, Island Tea.